Okay, today we are in day 149 in 2 Samuel 14. And I'm going to title this one, Don't Take Situations into Your Own Hands. Let God take care of things. And I can say that from much experience. I am 62 years old, and how many times I look back when I tried to take situations into my own hands and I tried to fix it or solve it or whatever. But let God take care of situations. All we have to do is do what's right, show up, and say, God, this is yours. I give you all my problems. I give you every one of my situations, and you just show me how you want me to handle it, because I know, God, that you will come to my defense. Then there's a story in this chapter about Joab. And Joab obviously we've talked about Joab before, he was the chief commander for King David and a confidant. And Joab saw how David was so upset because he missed his son Absalom so much, even after what he had done, is killing his half-brother. David loved his son. And that's what love is supposed to be, especially between a parent and a child, is that unconditional love, right? Well, that was David. He knew that Absalom had, run out because he knew that he would be in serious trouble, but it doesn't mean that David didn't miss him. So Joab concocted a story, and he brought a woman in who was known to be very wise, and he said, tell King David, this story. So the woman goes in and said, I am a widow. I had 2 sons. They got in a fight in the field. One killed the other. And now all my relatives want to come against the son that's still alive and take revenge on him because he killed his brother. She said, then I am a widow and I have no sons left if this happens. And King David said, I will guarantee to you, I will not let your relative touch your other son. And she says, well, King David, as a matter of fact, I believe that you should do the same as the wise counsel that you're giving me. You should bring your son back. And David was on to Joab. After she had concocted her story, and he said, I will not let anyone lay a hand on your other son. And here he was, King David abandoning his own son, Absalom. And he brought Joab in and he goes, you put her up to this, didn't you? David was totally on to Joab and knew what he had done. And yes, he did, but he made an oath and he said, why are you not doing the same thing for your son? So because of that, he allowed Absalom to come back, living in Geshur. And he brought him back, but for 2 years, David did not see him. So Absalom started building bitterness in his heart, and he did not have the character that King David had anyways. He did not have a good heart like his father. So what he did was he pleaded with Joab to go to King David and say, please go beg to him on my behalf to allow me to see my father. And Joab refused to do it. And because of that, Absalom went out and burned all of Joab's barley fields, burned them to the ground for revenge. Don't take out revenge on your own. Let God come to your revenge. Let God fight your battles. But Absalom did not have that heart. And we're going to read that even though Joab meant to do the right thing, it became a disaster. Because Absalom, it says, was the most beautiful man that lived in Israel. Even his hair, he only cut it once a year. And when they cut it, his hair alone weighed 5 pounds. They said his body was perfect. He was gorgeous. And that is a recipe for people to follow you, because it's a lot easier to get people to follow you when you're that gorgeous. You can swoon these women over, and you can get people to do things that you normally couldn't do if you weren't that gorgeous. And he used that for evil. So what Absalom did is he started concocting plans to sit at the city gates and to basically start telling people, bring me your problems. Let's talk about it. I want to counsel you. And then he would give them this counsel. Oh, you're the greatest. You're the best, humoring them, all this stuff. I mean, it's just the whole thing's a recipe for a disaster, because what he was doing is he was trying to coerce the Israelites to come follow him, to anoint him king and kick his own father out. Now, can you imagine having a heart that you would do that to your own father, especially when he was so beloved and he was such a great warrior? But Absalom was taken over by power, and that is going to be his downfall. So not only did Absalom go against his father, but he coerced so many people in Jerusalem, in Israel, that literally King David had to flee. And here's again one of the greatest men, if not the greatest man of all of Israel. And he had to flee because his son was literally trying to take over the kingdom and oust his own father. So King David had to flee with 600 men and bodyguards, and to think that his own son betrayed him. Okay, we are in John 18 today, and it's just so devastating how here is the Messiah of the world, and these people are just so demonic that they're trying to destroy Jesus, who was without blame and the light of the world. But that's this world. This whole life is spiritual warfare. It is, you either believe in Jesus or you don't. And that's what this whole world is about. It's all spiritual warfare while we're here. So Judas betrays Jesus, and it says they came in that night at the Mount of Olives with Roman officers and soldiers and, torches and, ready to go to battle. And when they came in, Jesus was like, wait a minute. I've been preaching in the synagogues every day, and you come in with weapons and Roman soldiers to arrest me like I'm some criminal? I mean, it's just so crazy. But they came in, and this is what they said. Who are you looking for? Jesus asked. Jesus the Nazarene, they replied. I am he. And I love it. Once again, it's the I, capital A-M, so it's I am. Jesus is the I am, and God referred to himself as I am. It says, I am he, Jesus said. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with him. As Jesus said, I am. I love this. Oh my gosh. It says they all drew back and fell to the ground. Can you see the scene where Jesus is standing there and they said, who are you? Are you Jesus the Nazarene? And he says, I am. And this, as soon as he said it, the power of God fell down, and every single person fell to the ground under the power of God. I don't know if you've ever seen that happen in churches or, at, I don't know, healing ministries or whatever, where people literally are being prayed for and they fall to the ground. Well, it's not some wackadoodle thing. What that is the power of God comes on them so strongly that they literally are knocked off their feet. I've had it happen to me. And I was surprised as anybody because I didn't know it was going to happen, and bam. But what a beautiful thing that the power of God would come on you so strongly that you're literally on the floor. Isn't that just so? We're talking about people who didn't believe in him, who were vehemently against him, and yet the power of God came on them, and God's like, really? Well, I'll show you. You're going to mock my son. Bam. I just love that. That's just one of my favorite parts in the Bible. It's so cool. So they were all knocked to the ground. And then they said, then Simon Peter, first of all, I got to go back. And it says, I tell you that I am, Jesus said. And since I am the one you want, let these others go, meaning his disciples. He did this to fulfill his own statement. I did not lose a single one of those you gave to me, one of his disciples, during that time. Then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed off the right ear of Malchus, the high priest's slave. But Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword away. Put your sword back into the sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of the suffering that God has given me?" So Jesus is like, don't put up a fight. This is what has been ordained since the beginning of time. I must lay my life down so you can have eternal life. And that's the price that Jesus paid. Then Peter went on and denied Jesus 3 times before the rooster crowed. And inside, the high priest began asking Jesus about the followers and what he had been teaching. And Jesus replied, "Everyone knows what I teach. I preached regularly in the synagogues and the temple where the people gather. I have not spoken in secret. So why are you asking me? I've been preaching every day. And those who heard me, they know what I said." Then one of the temple guards standing nearby slapped Jesus across the face. "Is that the way you answer the high priest?" he demanded. Jesus replied, "If I said anything wrong, you must prove it. But if I'm speaking the truth, why are you beating me?" And I just have to think, can you imagine that religious leader right there that came over and slapped Jesus across the face when he saw, right when Jesus was crucified, when he gave up his soul to God, and the earthquake happened, and the entire world was filled with darkness. There was no light at midday. I guarantee this man was like, uh-oh, what have I done? It says in the Bible that so many people came to believe because they were shocked and they could see that truly he was the Son of God. Okay, we are still in Psalm 119, and one of this excerpt is probably one of the most famous Psalms. So we'll get to that. It's so beautiful. And this Psalm says, "Oh, how I love your instructions. I think about them all day long. Your commandments make me wiser than my enemies, for they are my constant guide. Yes, I have more insight than my teachers, for I am always thinking of your laws. I am even wiser than my elders, for I have kept your commandments." And this is one of the favorite psalm right here. It says, "Your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path." I just remember growing up singing those songs. Lord, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. I've promised it once and I'll promise it again. I will only obey your righteous regulations. Boy, that's the promise that we need to give, but also it's a hard one to follow and to keep up with, because we got to follow God every step of the way and no turning back. Then in Proverbs 16:8-9, it says, "Better to have a little with godliness than to be rich and dishonest." Boy, if that isn't the truth. We can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. And I've always heard that saying, we make plans and God laughs. Well, God's paths and God's ways are the best. So if we can just hone into God's ways, we're always going to be okay and be on the right path and the good path.